this video I'm going to show you how to create this cozy textured sweater. I also have a PDF file available for this pattern. You can download it following the link in the description. So let's start. I'm going to be using this alpaca blend. I love those speckles. And we are going to be working in this stitch pattern. This is how it looks like on a sample. And we are ready to cast on. Usually I'm using 2 needles to cast on my stitches. One of them is a working needle and the other one is a smaller size. The reason for using 2 needles for the cast on is to create your edge stitches not so tight, so the edge doesn't pull in. But if you use 2 needles of the size of the working needle, you will get the edge that is way too loose and that will just not look good on the edge. So this trick of using a working needle with the smaller one is the golden middle for me. Cast on the required number of stitches plus 1 extra and take a small needle out, just like that. Slip it out. Here is your cast on edge. Now we are going to join in the round, avoiding the gap. Insert the right needle into the first stitch on the left needle and slip it off to the right needle. Then pass the second stitch on the right needle over the first one, just like that. And now move the stitch from right needle to the left one. Done. Next step, place the marker. This is the beginning of the round, and start working in a simple 1 by 1 rib. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and so on. Keep working in a 1 by 1 rib until the piece measures the desired height of the hem. Start the stockinette stitch section. First knit the indicated for your size number of stitches for the back. Then place the marker to indicate the side seam. Then knit the next stitch as usual and place another marker. It will just help you later. And just continue knitting until one last stitch before the beginning of the round marker. Place another marker and knit that last stitch. So now we are continuing to knit in stockinette stitch, knitting all the stitches until the first marker. Slip the marker and then slip this stitch with the yarn in the back without working it. Slip the marker and continue knitting until the next marker. We'll slip it again and slip the stitch without working it with the yarn in the back. And you will continue knitting, slipping markers as they come. And now we are going to start the pattern. Knit 3 stitches. Those next 5 stitches we're going to push as close together as possible and insert the working needle inside of those 5 stitches at the same time. Pull the working yarn through all of them at the same time, just like that. Then yarn over. Again, you will insert the working needle inside of all 5 stitches. Knit 1, yarn over, and insert the last time working needle inside of the 5 stitches, just like that. You created 5 stitches out of 5 stitches. Right now you're going to knit 5 as usual, then get to this section of 5 stitches again, push them together, and basically repeat the flower pattern. Knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit. You will continue in this manner, knitting 5 stitches as usual and then making a flower until the side marker. You will repeat on the other side, starting with knitting 3 stitches, then creating a flower, knitting 5 stitches out of 5 stitches, and 5 knit stitches as usual. Here how your work looks like at this point. We are going to continue until the beginning of the round marker, and we slip this stitch according to the pattern. Now we are going to create 3 simple stockinette stitch rows that are going to be basically separating the rows where we're creating the flowers. And following the pattern, I either knit the side stitch or slip it, depending where you are in the pattern. This is how your work looks like at this point. We are starting with the second row of the flowers, so we will find 2 flowers in the first pattern, repeat, and we will find 5 stitches right between them. So let's knit 8 stitches. In my case, I'm following the pattern for size small. Then we will create a flower, knitting 5 stitches out of 5 stitches, as explained before. Knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit again. And now our usual pattern repeat, stitch pattern repeat, 5 knit stitches and knit 5 out of 5. And you're going to continue like that until the last 8 stitches, until the side marker. Now let's take a look how your fabric looks like at this point. You can already see the pattern taking shape. Your work is established to the side marker, and according to the pattern you will repeat the same thing on the other side. The pattern is already visible on the fabric. Right now, according to the stitch pattern, we are going to knit 3 stockinette stitch without any flowers. If you look at the pattern, you will see that each flower is exactly between 2 flowers of the previous row. So you don't really have to follow the pattern if you don't want to. You can kind of read your fabric and figure out where you're supposed to knit your next flower. And we are going to continue working in pattern until the desired length to the armholes. Okay, I'm done with the body part, and now we are going to divide 4 armholes. So let's find the side marker. We are going to knit in a simple stockinette stitch. According to the pattern, for my size, I'm supposed to bind off 9 stitches. So there are going to be 4 stitches on each side of the side stitch, and obviously the side stitch as well, for 9 stitches in total. Here I come to the side stitch, bind it off as well, and remove the marker. I will continue binding off the rest of the stitches following the pattern. And 9 stitches are bound off. This is how it looks like. We are going to do the same on the opposite side. Knit is established until the X number of stitches before the beginning of the round marker. Depending on your size, bind off X number of stitches, the same one that you bound off on the opposite side. Bind off until the beginning of the round marker and then slip it off. You won't need it anymore. And this is how your work looks like at this point. And now we are going to put the stitches that right now between 2 bind off edges on hold. You can use different methods of putting the stitches on hold. Some prefer to put it on an extra needle. I just in this case prefer to put it on a thread of yarn and tie it together so it won't get into the way. Now we are going to come back to the stitches that are still live on your needles, and we are going to work on them back and forth. We are going to join yarn from the wrong side, attaching it to the edge. On the wrong side we are always going to purl, except for the first and the last stitches, which we are going to knit, always. We are going to make in total 3 simple stockinette stitch rows, purling on the wrong side and knitting on the right side. And in each 4th row we are going to continue the established stitch pattern of the flowers. According to the pattern for my size, I'm going to knit 9 stitches and get to the spot where I'm going to make my first flower. And as usual, we are going to knit 5 out of 5 by knitting 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1. So you basically get the idea. We continue to work in a simple stockinette stitch for 3 rows between each flower row, and on the flower pattern row you are creating flowers between the 2 flowers of the previous pattern row. Continuing pattern as established until the desired length of the armhole. Now we are going to work on the shoulders and neckline. According to my pattern, according to the size that I'm knitting, I'm supposed to knit 14 stitches as usual. Once I'm done, I'm going to cut yarn, leaving a long tail, and place these work stitches on a holder. Let's rejoin yarn, and I'm going to bind off 35 stitches according to the size instructions that I chose. Depending on your size, the number of stitches that you're supposed to bind off will vary. Bound off edge. Making sure that the number of stitches is the same as for the other shoulder, I'm going to knit across the stitches until the end. Let's cut yarn, leaving a long tail, and place the work stitches on a holder. The back is ready. Let's come back to the front part and repeat what you did for the back, stopping half an inch earlier before the shoulder shaping to make the neckline just a tad deeper at the front for a better fit. We are starting the shaping of the neckline and shoulders at the front. I will start by knitting the stitches for the first shoulder. The number of stitches knit is 2 stitches more than I did for the back, as we will need these extra stitches for shaping later. And consequently, I'm binding off 4 stitches less for the neckline. This is how my work looks like at this point. And I'm finishing the row with knitting the remaining stitches for the opposite shoulder. The first shaping row is done. This is how my work looks like at this point. I will work on the right shoulder, turning my work to the wrong side and purling across all the stitches. Then I'm going to flip the work back to the right side, slip 1 stitch with yarn in the back without working it, slip, slip, knit, decreasing 1 stitch, then pass the first stitch on your right needle, this one, over the second one. You decreased 2 stitches and knit to the end. Now slip the worked live stitches of the needle and put it on a hold. Now move on to the opposite shoulder and join the yarn from the wrong side. You will purl across all the stitches until the end of the row. Turn the work to the right side and knit to 3 last stitches. Knit those 3 stitches together. This way you will decrease 2 stitches. Now we will join the shoulders. Place work with right sides of the fabric facing each other and move all live stitches on a working needle. Start 3 needle bind off by knitting 2 stitches from both ends of the needles together. Then repeat, so you have 2 stitches on your right needle, and now bind off. And you will repeat the same sequence until the end of the row. You have 2 stitches left. Bind off 1 more stitch and you're done with the shoulder. You will repeat the same process on the opposite shoulder.
you are done with the body of the sweater. So I'm going to do this extra step of creating a chain of slip stitches around the armhole with a crochet hook. It is an optional step, but I never skip it as I feel like it reinforces the edge and makes a difference. Maybe all I will notice, but that's okay, I still like it. If you don't want to do this part, just skip to picking up the stitches straight from the armhole edge. And we're done with the crochet chain. Take the working needle and start picking up the stitches along the edge, inserting the needle inside of the crochet chain. And we picked up all the stitches that we needed to, as indicated in the pattern. We are going to start to work on our sleeve, and let's knit the first 5 rounds in a simple stockinette stitch. And let's start Mohair Flor pattern on the 6th round. Knit 4, place a marker, and knit 5 out of 5, as I showed you earlier on the main body. Knit 5 stitches, and then repeat this sequence. Knit 5 out of 5, knit 5 2 times more. I remind you I'm knitting a smaller size, so for the bigger sizes you will be able to fit in more pattern stitch repetitions. And I'm finishing with knit 5 out of 5 stitches to create the floor pattern. The next round is a simple stockinette stitch as usual. 2 more rounds in a simple stockinette stitch. And we are continuing in Mohair Flor pattern. Remember, there are 3 simple stockinette stitch rounds or rows between each pattern repeat. So right now we are going to shift the flower a little bit to the left side and make it right between the existing flowers. You see those 5 stitches between the flowers? Let's knit 5 stitches out of 5 to create the pattern. You will continue working on the sleeve, creating the Mohair Flor stitch pattern and knitting 3 simple stockinette stitch rounds in between. I did not use any decreases for my sleeve as I want it big and cozy and not too fitting. Knit 2 stitches and pass the first stitch on the right needle over the second one, and continue in this manner, binding off all the stitches. Here you can see a nice pattern flow. For the neckline trim, I'm going to use my favorite method. Using a crochet hook, I will create a chain of slip stitches along the neckline. Create the last slip stitch, remove the crochet hook. You can see how your work looks like at this point, and take the working needle. Usually I take the needle smaller, of a smaller size compared to the one that I used for the main body. Continue in this manner, inserting the needle inside of each slip stitch created by the crochet hook.
picked all the stitches around the neckline. I'm going to finish with an I-cord edge. Knit 1, place it back on the left needle, and repeat 2 more times. Start an I-cord edge, knit 2, then slip, knit the next 2 stitches, and then place 3 work stitches on the right needle back on the left one. You will repeat this sequence around the neckline until the end. I have 3 stitches left on the right working needle, and this is how my work looks like at this point. Now I will join the last 3 stitches left to the beginning of an I-cord. I'm done. It is pretty invisible. And the last step is to hide all the loose ends. And that's it. My cozy sweater is done.